Can you kind of dive into like why community is such an important role in like building a business today?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think first off, I think building business is just hard and it's lonely, right? And it's always going to be some degree of lonely, right? Because there are certain things that only you, as the founder CEO of the company, are going to be able to do, and that's great. That's kind of the job that you're signing up for. But it is tough, and I think having a community, ideally multiple communities that you are a part of, in a way that you really are vulnerable and you're sharing like a slice of yourself, like I think will just make that journey easier for you, right? It's kind of like, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together, sort of thing, right? Like you want to kind of do things together as a group and succeed together and fail together, etc. Right? I think that's important. I think and so that's kind of like the sort of more like high level reason, right? It's just like it's social, it gives you some peer pressure, some collaborative competition, et cetera, right? It's really helpful in those sorts of ways. But even in the business context, purely strategically, it makes a lot of sense, I think, because the hardest thing about, I think once you've built the product and you have something you want to sell, like a lot of what people run into is like, who do I sell to, right? How do I, where do I find my customers? And it's like, well, you should have done that before. Like, you should kind of have known that. Like, imagine like I wrote this book and I'm like, okay, who should I find? It's like, no, I kind of knew who I was, writing to, etc. And yeah, so I think starting with community really helps with that, where it really helps you start doing a lot of the learning and talking and building those relationships and building real trust, not fake trust. Like, oh, I'm going to sell a business to these people, so I need to like meet all of them. Not like that kind of trust, but really building real relationships. And this is not a fast process, right? Like you might read chapter one, be like, start with community, cool. Like, see you in 2 years, right? Like that's again, this is like not a get rich quick sort of book. It's kind of a get rich slow and methodically book, right? But yeah, I think this sort of and I remember right when I was writing the chapter about sales, sell to 100 customers, like it was the hardest thing to get anyone to like want to get interviewed for. Like no one wanted to talk about sales, and I think it was because like people just have this very negative idea of what sales is, which is like kind of the used car salesman, right? And the reason we don't like that is because there's kind of a lot of information asymmetry. You've never met this person before. They're going to sell you a car and then never see you again. You're not going to buy another car for a while. So like they don't have like the right incentives, and it just creates this like less than ideal relationship, right? You don't really trust the car salesman. You're actually told to kind of verify everything that they say, right? And that's just what it is. But I think if you start with community, then it's unlikely that you're going to do that, right? You're not going to, if you have a relationship, you've been in part of this group of people for a long time, you're friends with them, you're probably not going to sell them a crappy product, right? You're actually going to be too scared. What I find is you're going to be too afraid of trying to involve this community in your business, because you don't feel like you've done a good enough job yet. And that's actually becomes, and which by the way is a far better problem to have, right? It can help you work through that. Um, but saying, hey, I built this product, I don't know who my first customer is going to be, like that is a very difficult spot to be in, right? It's not easy to go from 0 to 1, but if you have hundreds, if not thousands, of people who know who you are, who've already, by the way, received value from you, right? And sometimes like they'll even have asked you like, hey, can I like, do you have money? Like, do you need like, do you have a book? Like how do I support you? What like I mean I get DMs like this all the time. That's like, hey, and like it's surprising. Like there have been people who like have read the book and been like, there's no way. Like there's no, you're literally just telling me to like contribute value for free and never ask for money. And then like 2 or 3 months later, it's like, hey dude, like I did the thing that you said, and like here's a screenshot of someone that just DM'd me randomly saying, hey, you have a course that I can buy. And I'm like, this happens because these people are here. They don't join communities just for fun. Like they're there for a reason. All human behavior is problem solving, right? Like they're there for something. There's some job to be done, as Clayton Christensen says, or said, like they're there to learn a skill or make more money or meet people or get fit or whatever it is. And if you're helping them do that, then like there's probably a business there, right? And so yeah, I think it's a really helpful framework to start with community. And again, it feels one thing I try to push back on a little bit is this obsession with follower numbers and social media engagement and going viral, right? It's like, oh, the way, and these are great things to do eventually, I think, right? But not where you want to start, right? Because you can't go to create a Twitter account and then have an amazing tweet storm and it's going to go viral. Like that's just not going to happen. What happens is you build relationships one by one, literally in the beginning. You build an audience that way, and then the kind of social media algorithm will do its magic, and you will kind of grow in some sort of compounding way. But that's great to go from 100 to a million or something like that, right? But to go from 0 to 100, no. Like I'm sorry, but like Twitter, YouTube, maybe TikTok, I guess nowadays people say that's possible. But it's just, to me, it's like you're betting on an algorithm liking you, which is a lot of this book is about not relying on external parties, not relying on VCs, not relying on not relying on degrees, universities, like not relying on capital, like any basically. Can we just get rid of all the excuses here, right? Like what excuses do you have? Okay, I need $1 million. Well, like, no, you don't. Let's get rid of that, right? Let's pick a business that is, can meet you where you are, right? It's like, oh, I don't have customers. Like, well, okay, don't worry about customers. Just like build relationships, help people, And it's like, if you can't help people, then I don't like, maybe you shouldn't start a business yet, right? Like first help people one by one, and then what is a business? A business is kind of just like the productized version of what you were already doing, right? And not all businesses, but certainly a business. And you can always. The other thing is, a lot of people, I think, gets really stuck on their first business idea. They're like, no, I can't build that business because it's not my life's work. It's not and it's like, that's fine. It's not like this book comes out and it's like, I cannot write another book. Like I'm done. Like this is it, right? No, I can do whatever I want. I mean, it's totally fine. There's nothing, holding me to my past self, right? And so, but I think a lot of people get stuck on that, right? And it's like, no, just literally start a business. Like that's, it doesn't matter what it is, because you will learn the skills you need to learn, and you will have better business ideas literally as soon as you start your business, right? Like a lot of people think they need a better idea to get started, but what I found in practice is you don't need a better idea to get started. What you need to do is you need to get started, and you will have better ideas over time because you will be in the environment and sort of the mind state to have ideas, which is you're trying to solve problems that are in front of you, and you're having a harder time than you thought you would, because it turns out like the tooling still sucks, right? The picks aren't sharp enough, and you can make better ones. And that's how like the vast majority of business ideas come about, I believe, is that people have problems and they want to solve them. And a great way to have problems is to start a business, because starting a business is still, quite a painful process, even in, the US, where, people would say it's pretty easy. It's still annoying. There's still parts like get a bank account, like fun, it's not fun. I have to go to FedEx later today to like ship some forms for, like, I literally still, like, this is 2020, October 2020. I'm still 21. I'm still notarizing documents, going to like I think one thing, when you're in tech or in startups and you're excited about this stuff and you're on Twitter, etc., like you think that the whole world is here and you're like, oh, I'm super late. Every problem's been solved. Like everyone has a huge audience. Like, what am I here? You're like, what's left for me? Right. It's like the gold rush. It's over. It's like, believe me, like I literally still teach people about Slack, you know, like, literally this happened a week ago where I was like, hey, I'm working with Penguin on this book. Guess what? Penguin, Random House, doesn't use Slack, they publish these books. But and this is another thing I learned about the creator economy is, like, you talk to a lot of creators at Gumroad. We realized this, like, wow, like a lot of these people are not technical at all. They're not. They're filmmakers. They're incredibly skilled at that hard skill. But if you said, hey, start a blog, they're like, I don't know how to do that. Like, that's too daunting. And it's like, well, you can just literally Google like how to start a blog, like just like how you probably learned filmmaking. But I think there's kind of a lot of imposter syndrome or what have you. It's scary. It's uncomfortable. So yeah, that's some of my observations.